All right, it is a few minutes after 2, so I want to get started. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope your Mondays are going well. Thank you again for attending our Marching Forward Monday VBE Showcase. Today, we're going to have 4 Novova certified VBEs presenting their companies. I ask that if you're not speaking, if you could please keep your microphone muted. Just a reminder, this session is recorded. This will be available to you all. Please feel free to use the chat function as always throughout the program. And first up, we have Mike Schuler.
All right, let me share my screen here. All right. All right. So good afternoon, everybody. I'm Mike Schuler, President, CEO, and founder of Veterans Alliance Resourcing. And let me just make sure the screen is showing correctly. All right. So a little bit about our company. We are an IT asset dispositioning firm. We get involved with converting used and retired computer assets and other electronics into cash for companies and institutions around the globe. We'll cover a little bit about our history, our mission, our exec team, the market we serve, the products we support, talk a little bit about our services in the US and our global services as well, and a little bit of some of the things that make us different. So the company was established in 2013 as a Texas S Corp. We relaunched in 2018 as an IT asset dispositioning firm and product remarketing services company. And our mission is to help clients engage with the secondary market in a way that's painless and profitable. We've been in this industry for a long time, so we know how to navigate those waters. A little bit about myself and my partner. I'm Marine Corps vet, disabled, and from a standpoint of services, I've been in the aftermarket services industry for almost 4 decades now, pretty much focused exclusively on reselling used equipment and solving problems in the post-sale support arena. My partner's very similarly has been involved in the industry as well, about 4 decades, and he's run global service operations for companies like Radio Shack, did Circuit City Fire Dog. He's been in the industry in processing all the products that companies generate, and I've been involved with selling all the products that companies generate. So a little bit about the market we serve. In the PC world alone, we're talking about, it's a $500 billion industry if you look at the entire secondary market. It starts at the very beginning of the life cycle when people return stuff to Costco or Walmart. And it goes all the way through various phases, including trade-ins, tech refresh, ITAD, and then finally recycling. It's a very, very large industry. From 2009 to 2015 alone, there were 320 million units per year shipped. And if you look at the typical residuals tracking, even after 2 or 3 years, you're getting 30 and 40 cents on the dollar. And it tracks even deep into the life cycle if you've got channels for that like we've cultivated. From 2015 to 2020, it shipped over 270 million assets. We focus on computers, servers, storage devices, mobility products, networking equipment, data center equipment, and the related peripherals. So we can help organizations with any of the type of profile and material they've got. We're considered product generalists. We focus on being able to take care of anything that comes across our dock and find a home for it and get value. So our services in the U.S., we want to provide a one-touch solution where clients can engage us to take care of everything, so they don't have to worry about it. They can actually give us just a few pictures and a few sample ideas of what technology they have and how much volume, and we handle everything else. We can handle giving you a quick valuation on your product as well as your project as a whole. When we bring the equipment in, we'll do a full audit on the material, wiping all the data, giving you a certificate of data destruction. We handle everything related to being able to deploy and deinstall material. We work with a team of 20,000 techs that we've partnered with across the U.S. that can go in and physically pick up and deinstall material. We work with a number of transportation organizations that can economically ship pallet or even truckloads of equipment to us centrally in our Texas-based facility. And by the way, our facility is about a 5,000 square foot operation that's both a warehouse and a tech center. We provide all the auditing. We give you a complete catalog detailing all the things received. And because we've been in the industry so long, we can take just about any category, any product profile, used, scratched up, whatever, we can find a home for it. And we also repair things if it's economically practical to do so. Then we share in the revenue. Our objective is to get the clients the most money possible for the equipment. On the global side, we've actually partnered with organizations because we've been in this industry so long, we know all the best players. We partner with organizations in Canada, Asia, Europe, Latin America, and Australia. So we work with a number of companies that have assets deployed globally, and we can actually have these organizations help process that material, and then we resell it to channels that we've cultivated over the last 4 decades, which include over 2,500 used equipment dealers in various segments and profiles. So what are our differentiators? Well, first off, we've got one of the largest pools of secondary market buyers out there that, I worked for 2 of the largest rental lease companies. I worked handling Dell's lease returns for 7 years, processing 40,000 units a month. So I've actually been heavily involved with some of the largest pools of assets. So that provided me the opportunity to find homes for all that volume of equipment and that disparity of different types of equipment where we can get buyers that are in the used equipment marketplace. We pay the highest net recovery on material. We have no fees. That's a tremendous differentiator between us and our competitors. We don't charge for the audit. We don't charge for data destruction. We don't charge for e-waste. We believe in giving customers the biggest value recovery by not passing on all the fees that are typical in our industry. We also believe that we should be able to make enough money off of our shared revenue percentage to cover all those costs. One final thing is we're in the final stages. As a matter of fact, our auditor is here today getting our R2 V3 certification. In our industry, there's 1,000 R2 organizations. This is the highest level accreditation you can get as an ITAD or e-waste service provider. There are 1,000 of those worldwide. However, there are less than 5 that are in line to get the V3 certification, which is the latest version, and it's much more onerous to get. We'll be among those first 5 in the world to get that certification. And that's it. Thank you for the opportunity. We'd love to have the opportunity to buy your equipment if you're an organization that has a lot of material, or if you're an organization that gets involved with providing that as a solution. We'd like to partner up with you and be your ITAD partner. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you, Mike. And let me get my screen up. And next we have Jeff Ames.
Thanks, Alexis. I'll just give you a second to get the, I think Mike might need to stop sharing his screen.
Oh, yeah, let me do that. Let's see. Stop.
Okay. I think we're good, Mike.
Okay, very good.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone from the West Coast. I wanted to thank Novoba, firstly, and also all of you who dialed in for giving us this opportunity to talk about our firm, which is called Ames Karanja LLP. I am Jeff Ames. I'm one of the 2 founding partners of this firm. And, I understand you guys all have a lot of stuff going on, especially on a Monday, and that your phones are ringing and your emails are coming in. So really do appreciate your time today. And I'll promise you that I'll be respectful of it. So Alexis, if you could go to the second slide, please. So who are we? We are a law firm. Specifically a small labor and employment firm located in San Diego. And for those of you who may have served in San Diego, I should warn you that the Navy and the Marines are doing some flight operations today. I've heard them all morning, and so you might hear that while I'm speaking here. But we are a law firm that represents California employers. And so that's typically businesses that either do business in California or have employees in California. And we are the ones who typically defend that business when it is getting sued by a current or a former employee on all kinds of employment law issues. So that might be discrimination and harassment claims, but we also do things like advising and counseling our clients because, as some of you, if you touch the legal space at all, some of you probably realize that California is kind of like a different country sometimes. So the firm has exceedingly high standards, both in its professionalism and its work product. Just briefly, I started my career as a Navy JAG a long time ago, and then was a partner at a large labor and employment firm for over 10 years. And the same goes for my team. We have a team of very smart, very experienced employment lawyers. And the reason I bring that up is that our focus here is to offer the same or better service that you would get from a much larger law firm. And I often tell people that we'll put our work and our results up against anyone, anywhere. And aside from just doing great legal work, as you know, lawyers can be expensive. And so we offer our clients a far better value than they get in a larger firm. And we do that in a couple of ways. We emphasize practicality. We give our clients very straightforward advice. We do not do a bunch of unnecessary things just to pad our clients' cases. And of course, because we're smaller, we can offer a bit lower rates, as well as various other kind of non-traditional fee arrangements that larger firms are often reticent to do. So things like fixed or flat fee engagements that kind of give the businesses a degree of predictability in their outside legal spend. So generally speaking, we kind of have a unique niche in the market, which is the excellence and the quality that you expect in a large law firm, but a far better value to our clients. Alexis, can you go to the next slide, please? So obviously, a lot of you know that many companies and their in-house legal departments have various initiatives that support businesses that are diverse in some way. Obviously, some are veteran-owned, others are woman-owned, minority-owned, things like that. And this is an area that we are really especially proud of, because obviously we're certified by Novova, but our diversity goes far, far deeper than that. And this has become a really big thing in the legal profession. Frankly, law firms tend to lag behind in the diversity area, but we are the only 100% veteran, woman, and minority-owned employment firm in California, that I know of anyway. My partner, Frey Karangia, is a minority female. She's from India, also one of the very best attorneys that I've ever met. And our diversity even goes beyond the partners. So our firm is about 60% female, 50% racially or ethnically diverse, and diverse in a lot of other ways. We have working moms who are, awesome litigators, but doing it on a flexible schedule. And you can see there at the bottom of the slide, those are just a few of the organizations that we work with very regularly on diversity issues in the legal profession. Alexis, could you go to the next slide? Okay, these are a few of the clients that we currently represent. The reason I put this up here is very specific, and that is that I know that when a company is considering trying out a new law firm, it needs to know that the company is going to get the service that it expects and at a good value, obviously. Our clients are both big and small. Some are regional, some are national, and some are international. But to be honest, they all share one thing, which some of you may share as well, which is they have high expectations for their outside legal work. And they could hire large firms if they wanted to. Some of these companies on here, in fact, all of the companies on here could do that quite easily. But they work with us because they get like I said, the great legal work and the best representation at a more flexible and lower price than they would get by hiring a national firm. But honestly, the thing that I'm most proud about on this particular list here is that the long-term nature of our relationships with these various clients. I and my colleagues have been representing these companies for years, some of them for over 10 years. And you know, I am frankly grateful and humbled all the time that these companies choose to continue their relationship with our little firm here. And that is something we don't take for granted. We're actually extremely selective about both the people we hire and the clients that we represent. And we really value being able to develop ongoing relationships with the clients that we serve. Alexis, can you advance again? So I know at this point I'm supposed to kind of ask you all, what you can do for us. It feels a little odd to me because we're a service organization and our focus is always on what we can do for you. So if your company does business in California, or if you have any employees in California, I would just say that you almost certainly have California labor and employment issues that come up from time to time. It might be litigation. It might be complying with the constant onslaught of new laws and regulations in California that can get you into trouble real quick. But I guess what I would ask is, if you have people in your organization who are responsible for purchasing their outside legal services, and that might be your in-house legal department. If you're a larger business, it might be your HR department or even just business owners. Let us know if you think we can help. I'm always happy to chat about, whether or not we're the right fit for a particular business. I know some companies have, legal spend budgets that dictate that they spend a certain percentage on their, outside diverse firms. Others, smaller business, just want to pay as little as they possibly can on outside legal services. And so what I would ask you is if you would talk to the people in your organization, if it's not you, and let me know if you think that we might be able to provide a better service at a better value for whatever labor and employment needs you have in California. So I will go ahead and put my email in the chat. It's also sitting right there in front of you, as well as our website, and that's my direct phone number. I'm always happy to talk about what we can do and how we can help. So thank you again. I'll give my spot to the next presenter.
Thank you, Jeff. And then up next, we have Stephen Schomer.
Hello, everyone. My name is Steve Schomer, and I'd like to thank Novoba for providing this opportunity for us veterans to showcase our businesses and what we do. I was in the Air Force back in the late '80s, and I worked on the stealth fighter project. At the time when I entered, it was actually top secret, and it was declassified while I was there, and it's been a long time ago. And so since then I've been basically a professional sales representative, a few different product lines, but always selling to manufacturers for the most part. 4 years ago, I decided to start my own company, and I call it Adrenaline POP. The POP stands for point of purchase, because what I do is I manufacture permanent or semi-permanent retail display fixtures. But what I found is the best way to try to explain that a little bit further is to show you some examples or some pictures of what I do. So Alexis, please forward to the next slide. In the fall of 2019, Victoria's Secret wanted to promote their fall lineup in about 1/3 of their stores. And so here's a 3D layout of one of those stores. And we made several of these clothing racks that I've put a little blue arrow pointing to. And those are metal fixtures that we have a custom paint on. And so next slide, please. Here's another example of something we've done. This is a concept for an AT&T retail point inside a Sam's Club. This display has wood laminate, metal, acrylic, magnetic graphics, regular graphics, electronics, and more. And Adrenaline is unique because we can bring all of these different materials together for our retail clients all at the same time. We manufactured one of these and sent it to Walmart's corporate headquarters in Arkansas about a year ago. It's very common for the what we call the brand, in this example, AT&T, to pay for this display, but they often have to review it with Walmart or whatever retailer it might be, because they want to make sure there's compliance within the store environment. So the people from AT&T were supposed to meet with Walmart, and that was just before AT&T decided to have a no-fly policy put in place due to COVID. So this particular display has been sitting in a crate at Walmart's corporate headquarters for about a year now. Next slide, please. So those were a couple examples of some larger things that we do. We also do some small scale items. This tag on the Vans shoe on the left was something that was already done, and we were supposed to try to duplicate something like that, but in a different material. The one on the left is made out of metal, and we've made the one on the right out of 2 layers of plastic, the white laminated over the black, and then we used a laser to etch away the material. So it gave it the 3D feel of the metal one on the left, but we were able to get much finer detail in the lettering by using the laser technology. Next slide, please. This countertop was a display, was a very large job for us last year for T-Mobile. I named my company Adrenaline because it's representative of what's happening in this industry. What I mean is that buyers at retailers often purchase a display in response to a product rollout. So they may have been developing a phone that was sitting on this display for a year, but those designers or product engineers weren't involved in how it was going to be merchandised in the store. And so once the store people received word that a new product is coming, then they start to scramble quickly to come up with ways to merchandise it in the store, which inevitably causes chaos. Everything's always rushed, shortcuts are always searched out, and basically everybody gets their adrenaline pumping and rushing, and that's part of the reason why I chose that name, is because I live in an environment that's always crazy. Everything is always rushed. And so, and that's why I got involved in this job. The folks at T-Mobile actually developed this design and awarded it to another company. But when they got that purchase order, that company rejected the order. They weren't able to hit the timeline because of another job that they had committed to. So they called another supplier, and I got involved and basically was asked, can I make 13,000 of these displays in 5 weeks? And we found a way. I met with my engineer and my fabricator, and we came up with a slightly different design modification so that we can make it more quickly. And but that also meant that it took about a week to develop and get that new design approved. So in the end, we ended up making 13,000 of these in about 4 weeks. And they were so thrilled with our responsiveness and actually the better design that they then a few weeks later awarded us another 10,000 displays. So those were a good example of us getting involved in the chaos and coming out with some fantastic results in the end. So next slide, please. This one's a little hard to see. It's in a Best Buy. Obviously, there's a big Samsung television mounted to it, but everything else that's mostly covered up by the TV is what we've made. It's a large display that's mounted to the end cap of the store fixture, and then the TV's hung on it, and there's a variety of metal and other elements in that display. Next slide, please. Here's a large display that we did for LG, a stackable washer and dryer. This one was out in several different retailers and had different footprints. But this one was especially challenging because of the gloss white paint that it is, and it had a large areas of welding on it, which had to be finished and polished to a very smooth surface so that you couldn't see any of the blemishes through the white paint. And so that's almost more of an artwork when it comes into welding in those areas. And we have, this is what we do. So we have a lot of capabilities for doing that type of work. Next slide, please. Here's another example. This is a display that you can find in the downtown Chicago AT&T store, or it's their flagship store in Chicago. The idea with this one was this arrived in stores a couple of days before the latest iPhone. I think it was the iPhone 11 was due to hit the stores. And Samsung was hoping that as consumers, especially those very interested consumers that want to get the new iPhone on the very first day that it comes out, they would by chance walk by the Samsung display and pause and decide that they wanted to buy a Samsung instead. So we had a lot of custom design elements that went into this, and this truly was one of those examples where they gave us a rendering, maybe similar to what you saw in the AT&T display initially, and we had to figure out a way to make it. There's multiple complex contoured pieces on this, and also some integrated light blades in small areas that we were challenged and had to figure out how to make that as well too. It's not as common for us to design the actual display as it is to fabricate and manufacture them. So next slide, please. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an idea, and this one may be hard to see, but over the last few years for us, we went from a $300,000 to $1 million, and then last year, even during COVID, we grew further to about a $1.5 million company. And so there's certainly some seasonality or some peaks and valleys in my business as well too. And so just wanted to give a little bit of an idea of where we're coming in at. Next slide, please. And here's a further slide to try to explain that we really see three types of end user consumers of our product. One might be a Victoria's Secret or a Starbucks or an AT&T store where they have their own product that they're selling in their store. The ones in the middle, the Best Buy, the Walmarts, they're selling other people's product line primarily. And then the ones on the right are the ones we call brands. They're the ones that typically have are placing their product lines in those retailers. And then I've put a little banner stripe in the middle. It says the POP companies. Those are the companies that come up with the concepts. They might be marketing firms or display companies that come up with the concepts and present them to those the retailers or the brands. There's really three types of display companies, at least for the purposes of this discussion. One is there are display companies that do everything themselves inside their own four walls. There are some that may do everything themselves, but maybe it's just a narrow scope, like they do mostly wood. And so if they need something out of metal, then they would outsource that. And then there's a group that mostly comes up with the creative aspect of it. And then they look to companies like mine to have those things created or fabricated. And that's the majority of my customers typically are of that group that don't do much themselves and are contracting that out. And so what I wanted, if you go to the next slide, please, it's all too busy to fit on one slide. So what I was trying to show here then is that after we work with those display companies, then we go out and we work with our subcontracted manufacturers to do the metal, the plastic, the wood, the engineering, what have you. And I have about 30 of these suppliers that I worked with in 2020. And that's where we get the large scale of diversity from on what our capabilities are. But it's also one of the keys of how we can get to market so much faster than some of our competitors. Because in that T-Mobile example, we were able to subcontract with 5 different metal suppliers to do the metal portion of that display and 3 different plastic suppliers to do the acrylic portion of that display. And that was our way of being able to run in parallel and have manufacturers do all the same thing, but much faster because we're able to go across different supplier base. Next slide, please. I think my logo might have slid down a little bit on this slide. So that's supposed to say, what can I do for you? If you are a veteran-friendly retailer, including a grocer or a bank, or may have some type of dealer network of some sort, automotive or something like that, or simply need any type of display element, I'd be more than happy if you were to contact me directly. And I have my contact information coming up shortly. Or if you are an outside of the retail world and you need something made of metal or wood or plastic, I'd be happy to see if I could put my experience and my network to work for you. Or I'm a veteran. If you're a veteran and you just want to chat about anything, take my information down. Feel free to reach out and give me a call. I'd love to talk to veterans. And next slide, please. And what can you do for me is covered up again in this case. If you are a veteran-owned business and you may be providing a service that I could use in making some of these retail displays that I just showed you some examples of. I'm always looking for suppliers to help me grow my business and do work for me and my customers. A couple others, if you're a financial institution, I have from time to time some short-term needs on larger projects that I need some supplemental funding for at times. And I'm currently reviewing my insurance coverage right now, if you happen to be a veteran-owned insurance company. So that, I'm sorry, one more slide should have my contact information. And if there are any questions, please don't hesitate, and I will chat out my contact information on the chat line too.
All right, thank you very much. And last but not least, we have Jason Vatier.
Thank you, Alexis. Hello, everyone from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My name is Jason Vatier. I am the owner of Appalachian Epoxy. Real quickly, before I begin, I'd like to take this opportunity very quickly, thank the management team of Novoba and all of its affiliates for welcoming me into this wonderful organization. So next slide, please, Alexis. Today's presentation will be brief. I will touch upon our company culture, and we will dab a little bit about epoxy flooring solutions for your corporations and the different types of epoxy applications out there. We'll dive into some of the capabilities of epoxy flooring. We'll wrap it up with some contact information. Next slide, please. There's a team photo of us right there. Our team here at Appalachian Epoxy, time after time, I have found the companies choose to work with us because it's become pretty clear that we know what we're doing. We're team professionals that have worked with all types of epoxy flooring for several years now, whether that be urethane, a true epoxy, polyaspartics, and I'm also a very big believer in taking care of my people. I had a rather lengthy stint before I became an entrepreneur with an oil and gas, and with the collaboration of my military background and oil and gas, I took a lot of hard lessons learned that I have seen from leadership, and I implemented them into this company. And as a result, I have what I feel is the best installment team in the tri-state area of Ohio, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania. Next slide, please. So epoxy systems, I want to be very clear about something. These are epoxy installations. There's a lot of people think epoxy coatings. Epoxy coatings are different from installations. When you coat a floor, you're simply taking an existing substrate and you are simply painting, whether that be paint, epoxy, or any type of polyurethane. We install polymer flooring systems. And what I mean by that is, first of all, you must prep accordingly the existing substrate. More often than not, this is a concrete floor. And when I say prep, I mean you must ground the substrate to where you can get fresh pores in the concrete, and you must repair it appropriately. And you want to do this so you get a permanent bond with whatever your base coat is. So again, this is not epoxy coating, these are epoxy installations. So, and as far as the various types of things that could be thrown in an epoxy floor, whether it be somebody's garage, a food processing facility, a restaurant, we have different types of polyurethanes for whatever you may need. So next slide, please. So office spaces, these are the most fun to do. What you're looking at right here, this is called a metallic finish, okay? This is like a 3-step process right here. These are considered a high-end floor, and they are the most costly to do. But typically, I'll install metallic finish in somebody's high-end garage or an office space like you're looking at, lobbies, waiting rooms, meeting, creative spaces, conference labs, executive suites. I actually did the executive suite down in Houston for the Houston Astros. I can send a picture of that to anybody who you would like, anybody that would like to see that. But yeah, so office spaces are, and these metallic high-end floors, you can also be I can install something over top, like a low gloss. So what I'm getting at is they can be beautiful, but I can install a top layer, which they can also put up with a lot of damage. So you won't have scuff marks, scratching, and things of this nature. Next slide, please. Warehouses. This is where we got our start. In a warehouse, you can use a variety of epoxies. It's all depends on what the customer needs. I can use a true epoxy for my base coat and my top coat. I can use a top coat of polyaspartic. And again, it depends on what the customer needs. I can apply epoxy that can withstand 9 pounds per square inch. I can apply epoxy that can withstand 30 pounds per square inch. I can apply an epoxy that can stand up to 600 degrees Fahrenheit. Most of the epoxies that I install for warehouses, if you're dealing with scissor lifts, forklifts, pallet jacks, things of this nature, not only are these really highly resistant to chemicals and abrasions and impacts, but they're virtually impossible to stain because epoxy is a very non-porous substance. So unless you have a very, very harsh chemical that you're putting down and you can find something that can actually leak into that, you are not staining. And they're extraordinarily easy to clean, very low maintenance. Next slide, please. Restaurants and kitchen, another one. Most of the time when I am installing for a restaurant or a kitchen or even food production facilities, as long as there's not a lot of UV exposure, I'm going to use a true epoxy for the bottom and the top. And obviously when it comes to service industry related fields such as this, one big concern we have is traction. So there are a couple different aggregates that I can broadcast into the top layer, such as a product called aluminum oxide or dehydrated silica sand. And we make a custom blend of this depending on the customer, depending on how much traction you want. Next slide, please. Exterior spaces. Don't let, so I want everybody to realize that epoxy is just not confined to interior. We do a lot of pole decking, sidewalks, patios, driveways, entranceways into buildings. And when I do exterior spaces, I do not use a true epoxy on the top coat. I use something called a polyaspartic. Polyaspartic has outstanding UV stability. If I used a true epoxy on your top coat, very quickly, because of the exposure to the sun, a true epoxy is not UV stable. So you want to use something like a polyaspartic where it can withstand the UV rays. Next slide, please. Medical sanitation. This has actually become very, very highly sought after, epoxy floorings. Especially in my area, I get a lot of requests from whether it be embalming rooms, dog kennels, retirement facilities, anywhere there is going to be the potential of a lot of biohazard fluid, in any place that needs to stay ultra clean. Again, these floors are very non-porous and they're extremely easy to keep clean. They can withstand, although these things don't pertain to the medical field, the floors that I install can withstand everything from human waste to gasoline, sodium hydroxide, bleach, sulfuric acid, hydrochloric acid, nitric acid, glycol. Again, that's kind of stepping into the warehouse and commercial side again. But I also build my epoxy floors up where I can offer coving, like a 6-inch coving on the side. It is not a true 90-degree coving. When I say 90 degree, I mean from the floor to the coving. Often with 90-degree coving in places like medical facilities, or restaurants, you get a lot of the contaminants that you're trying to clean stuck in at 90-degree. My epoxy coving is rounded, so it's a bowl rather. And unfortunately, I do not have a picture that demonstrates the coving. But again, what's important to remember here is that we're really going after low maintenance, durability, functionality, and it is highly resistant to chemicals, and you're easy to keep clean. Next slide, please. One thing I want to be very clear about when you go and when you decide to install an epoxy floor, this is a permanent solution. Okay, so again, where we make our money, where the true artistry and the skill set comes in, more the skill set and the experience, is the preparation of the substrate. My floor is only as good as how you can prepare it. So we, generally speaking, most of our time comes out of prepping the concrete. We know what we're doing. If you can get that base coat to permanently mechanically bond with that substrate, you have a floor forever. So if anything is going to wear out eventually, it'll be the top layer. Again, whether that's a urethane or polyaspartic. But even those top layers, they take a ton of abuse. And as long as the installer does his due diligence and the customer, they do their due diligence as far as keeping it clean with minimal effort, you can enjoy an epoxy floor for years. Again, the whole installation is permanent, but maybe 10, 15, even 20 years in some cases, that top layer where there's a lot of high traffic area might start to wear thin. You simply get another epoxy professional installment crew in there, and they give you another coat, and you're good. You're good for another 10, 15, 20 years, what have you. So I always tell this, once you go epoxy, there is no going back. This is an absolutely permanent solution. And again, I would also like to emphasize, epoxy flooring is not created equal. There are all types of epoxy floorings for all different applications, all the way from somebody's man cave to somebody's 60,000 square foot facility to airplane hangars. Next slide, please. I hope I did a pretty good job of dishing out at least a preliminary information about what we do and the capabilities of epoxy floors and who we service and who we can help. If you have any questions, there is my contact information, and I will be more than happy on a one-on-one basis to consult with anyone. And we work very hard to give you exactly what you need while staying in your budget. It's that simple. Thank you.
All right, thank you to all the presenters. You guys all did great, and thank you to everyone for listening. I am going to go through the chat because we might have some questions, but if anyone has a question, please feel free to ask any of the presenters.
I have a question. This is Letitia Brandon with Telany.
Go ahead, Letitia.
Will it be possible to receive copies of the presentations or the capability statements from today's presenters?
Absolutely. We'll have the recording. I have the slides, and then it should be in the invitation as well, but I can send that out to you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And I see a hand raised from Beverly Johnson.
Yes, I was curious with Stephen, with the displays and things that you do with the acrylic, whether or not you had come up with anything in terms of more general uses now in response to configuration in offices and even at other facilities like churches where you need the plexiglass cover or division. So I didn't know if you came up with anything around that or not.
Well, we've been involved in personal space dividers or sneeze guards or things like that. I mean, we've got, if you go to Starbucks, you can see some of our metal supports holding up the sneeze guards at Starbucks. And we have some office dividers that are developed to slide on top of a cubicle wall that has a metal rail on top, that we have a channel that with a magnet on that you can just slide in some acrylic and extend the wall up higher. And so those are some of the things that we've done internally, but a large majority of our work is stuff that you have a concept or an idea of what you want, and then we just figure out how to make it for you. But if there's something specifically or an area you're specifically interested in, feel free to reach out to me directly.
Okay, thank you.
Does anyone have any other questions? I see all of those chats were telling everyone they did a great job and sending out some information. So presenters, make sure you take a look through the chat before you get off the call as well.
Alexis, it's Nancy Connor. I just need a moment while we still have everyone on the call to say thank you to everyone who has already taken the time to go in and update their profiles in the Novoba portal, and remind everyone who hasn't had time to do that yet to take a look at your inbox. Email went out last week, and if you didn't see something from Nancy Connor at Novoba last week, or please take a look at your spam folder to make sure that if you haven't already done so, you take the time to go into your profile in the new Novoba certification portal and paint a really strong picture of your capabilities. We talked about this a month or so ago. We had a training. This email that went out was a reminder, and also distribution of the slide decks to walk you through how to enhance your profile. So please take the time to do that. It's very important so that our corporate allies see the best possible picture of yourself and your capabilities when they're searching our database. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Nancy. If you're a VBE on the call that hasn't presented yet, please reach out to me if you're interested. If you're a corporation that would like to present at our corporate engagement hour, please reach out to Mimi. I can throw our emails in the chat as well. And thank you all for coming today. We appreciate your time. We'll have another Marching Forward Mondays next Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And this is Mimi. Thank you, Alexis. Next week's Marching Forward Monday is our corporate engagement hour. So we will be hosting Bank of New York Mellon, the PGA, and True Value. So please make sure to save your 2 o'clock for next week and join us then. Also, for all of our VBEs, the nominations are out there, the survey forms for Veteran Business Enterprise of the Year. If you don't have it, you can contact Alexis or myself. And same thing for our corporations. Best Corporation Survey was launched. You can go to the Novoba website as well and take a look at it. So if you don't want to nominate yourself, which you are more than welcome to, nominate a business owner that you think is deserving. And for our corporations, please nominate your suppliers. Thank you, everybody. And thanks to our presenters. You all did a great job, and for all the support that all of you in the audience are giving to us weekly. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Hi.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.